Welcome to Sunshine Cathedral's Queer God Squad. It's Monday, April 15th, 2024. I'm Reverend Dr. Darrell Watkins, the senior minister here at Sunshine Cathedral.
I am Reverend Dr. Robert Griffin, the executive minister. Faith and religion can be complicated for the LGBTQ plus community. Surveys show that evangelical faith is the justification for the greatest attacks on the LGBTQ plus community.
I am Reverend Kevin Tisdall, the Minister of Education. The Queer God Squad is going to explore our religious community. Let's explore the big news of the day and what it means to you. This is live, and then we are available on demand. We are available on all smart televisions and your favorite social media.
At Sunshine Cathedral, we're here to tell you that you are God's miracle, not God's mistake.
This is the Sunshine Cathedral perspective. Is it just a myth? Why does it seem religion and LGBTQ plus hate is so much greater in the South? In an introspective discussion on the GayChristians subreddit, a member expressed the struggles of exploring sexuality in the conservative landscape of the southern United States. The post author mentioned that despite undergoing a significant theological journey and embracing affirming beliefs of his religion, feelings of guilt and doubt still plague their acceptance of their own sexuality. The individuals share their experience of internalized shame, fueled by the community voices of their upbringing, which premature harmful myths about sexual orientation. They grapple with fear of being prejudged or dismissed by their community, leading to doubts about the validity of their identity. The discussion focused on their perception that the lack of diversity, inclusion, and even hate is far greater in the South than any other regions of America. Then the discussion focused on why. At Queer God Squad, we recognize the immense pressure and stigma faced by LGBTQ plus individuals in religious and conservative environments. The intersections of faith and sexuality can create a battleground for self-acceptance where external influences often clash with personal convictions. While coming out publicly may offer liberation and support from like-minded individuals, the decision is deeply personal and must be made with consideration for one's own safety and well-being. In a region like the southern United States, where conservative attitudes prevail, the risk of backlash and discrimination seems significant. The real question, is it a myth or an ongoing truth that the South has always been and is a place of deeply red politics and evangelical religiosity? Is it myth or reality that the South is a place where marginalized communities, including sexual minorities, people of color, women, and even liberal religious communities are targeted, bullied, and vilified? At Queer God Squad, we stand in solidarity with those across the South grappling with doubt and fear, offering support and affirmation on their journey towards embracing their authentic selves. I just want to read back some words from that. One of my professors in seminary always talk about reading. When you read scriptures, you read the words. You look for certain words as you read through that. And some of the words I want to kind of highlight back for us as I was thinking about this. Is it a myth or is it ongoing truth? In the South, a place for marginalized communities, including sexual identity of LGBTQ people, issues, race, color, Black, Latino, healthcare, women, diversity, faith, struggle. All those are powerful words that popped out to me from that particular perspective. And it is clear to me that there is an agenda going on, and it is not the gay agenda. When these types of words are being highlighted and these types of articles and things are popping up, this is a right-wing agenda to take over, to control, to subvert, to tell people to be afraid of something, to tell people that they're not entitled to things that they are universally entitled to tell people you need to go back in whatever closet you came out of and stay there. But that's not the gay agenda. That's not the universal human rights agenda. We all have rights that we're entitled to, and we should live into those rights of being true people that we're called to be. And we are called to be examples of that truth for people who cannot speak, especially as a Southern. I'm from Alabama. They think, oh, Florida is the South. No, Alabama is the South.
Yes.
Let me be parts of the panhandle that you can include in that. But being from Alabama, it was a very different thing to grow up in Alabama. A little area called Troy, south of Montgomery, north of Mobile. But in that place growing up, even that part of the South, you knew what you could do, you know what you couldn't do, you know what you could say, you know what you couldn't say, and you still knew your place as a struggling gay person trying to come out. And so I think we're looking at those words that pop out to us that are still a challenge for us today.
Well, I'm from the Mid-South. I'm from a more hilly region. I'm a hillbilly, but from Arkansas. But I am from the Mid-South, and the racism, the conservative Christian dominance, the pathological hatred of LGBTQ plus people, their lives, the domestic violence. Oh yeah, a lot of. Just because you're home doesn't mean you're safe. A lot of that. I experienced some of that. The gun culture, the distrust of intellectualism, the lack of respect for immigrants, and the strange combination of sexual prudery and high rates of teen pregnancies and sexual health challenges are all very real. In the South, the food is good, the landscape is often lovely, and there ain't nothing better than a Southern barbecue with a live bluegrass band providing entertainment. And when you think of some of the academic powerhouses, Rice University, TCU, Vanderbilt, Emory, the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, Ole Miss, Tulane, University of Virginia, they are right there in the South. But for all that is amazing, long-held prejudices still saturate the culture, the politics, and the majority of churches. Southern Baptists make up the majority of churchgoers in Alabama, Arkansas, Florida, Georgia, and Kentucky. They make up a big chunk of Louisiana. Southern Baptists are the most prevalent group in Mississippi, Oklahoma, North Carolina, and South Carolina. And the Southern Baptists dominate the religious landscape in Tennessee, Texas, and Virginia. The religious South is by a sizable majority influenced by a denomination that has historically opposed LGBTQ rights, opposed the ordination of women, and that came into existence to support the institution of slavery and remain the leading denomination in the South throughout Jim Crow. They, along with then the preponderance of Southern Baptists, you also have in the South huge segments of the deeply conservative Stone Campbell Christian churches and Churches of Christ. They're different names, but the same fundamentalist theology. You have various Pentecostal and holiest denominations also. These evangelical and often fundamentalist churches focus on the execution of Jesus as being somehow salvific. If you have a violent theology, then you're never going to be kinder than your God is. And if you worship violence, you're not going to be less violent than the faith that motivates your life. So these fundamentalists, they focus on and revere the execution of Jesus. They think that people who don't share their theologies are forever damned. That's the conversion technique. If you're not one of us, then you are hosed forever because our loving God said so. And so if you disagree with them, you are forever damned. They often speak of their faith as spiritual warfare. And most discourage a critical reading of the Bible. When you worship violence, crucifixion, when you abhor free thought, critical thinking about religion, when you preach that women are secondary to men, when your founding narrative is support of white supremacy, and your faith informs the values of most of the people in your region, an affirming, joyful, or even tolerant atmosphere is going to be about as scarce as hen's teeth. It's no myth. In fact, just how problematic religiosity is in the South is tragically underreported.
I am going to say absolutely true what my two brothers from the South are saying. And as a person from the North, from Brooklyn, New York, I have to give my side of the story. New York City almost always has been an extremely segregated city. Black folk have to live in places like Brownsville, Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, and most of you know stories about Bed-Stuy especially. Redlining is prevalent still in New York. And after World War II, when they started building all of those beautiful tract homes in Long Island, black folk were completely excluded. You could not buy a home in Levittown. So yes, it is absolutely true that the South is very loud about its ugliness. In the North, New York City, Boston, and other cities, the level of racism, the level of homophobia. If you in New York City weren't in Greenwich Village, you could not be your true self. So it's not just the South that we can say needs some lessons. The folks up in the North still to this day need to understand that black folk, women, gay folk, what we call marginalized communities need to be heard, understood, and accepted. It's not just the South, my brothers, as much as we want it to be. It's not just the South. The South is just louder about it than the North. But that was always what we said. When we were talking to family and friends who lived in the South, my family's from Virginia and Georgia. My roots are Virginia and Georgia. And when they started talking about where they couldn't go, we were like, well, I can't go to Bensonhurst, for example. And I definitely was not welcome on Staten Island. And that kind of, even though I lived on Staten Island for a few years, that's still kind of true. We were outliers. So America, we as a country have a lot to do in order to begin to heal all of the isms that we talk about at this table every single week. It's not just the South.
Now, I do want to say, to be fair, I'm starting with allergies right now, and so I sound a little gravelly, which may make me sound a little harsher than I mean to sound. But although I get worked up, but to be fair, I do want to say about the Baptists, and the Southern Baptist history is a problematic one, and its influence on the South is not always positive, and its involvement in politics has been far from good news for a lot of people. But in the 70s, maybe early 80s, there was a real movement within the Southern Baptist Convention to do better. And they started ordaining women. We know one of they ordained about 400 women, and we know one of them. And then they shut that down. But there was a moment where they were ordaining women, and it should be like that because Baptists supposedly each church is autonomous. So you'd think that every church can decide how it's going to be, and every individual can read scripture for themselves and interpret for themselves. So if everyone can interpret the scripture, and if every church is autonomous, who out there is saying you can't ordain women? I mean, I understand. So they've sort of subverted their own polity anyway. But there was this moment where they were being more, they're becoming more inclusive. They were becoming more moderate. And that's when the fundamentalist takeover happened in the 80s. There was actually a hard right takeover of the world, but including the Southern Baptist Convention. So when I'm saying Baptists have been, this problematic history, that's true. But within there were liberating movements and attempts that just got squashed. And then a lot of those went on and formed new Baptist groups that are very progressive. The Alliance of Baptists, the Baptist Cooperative Fellowship, even the historic American Baptist churches looks way more like Presbyterians or something than they do the Southern Baptists. So there's, if there's some progressive Baptist out there, I don't want to have insulted them. You know what I mean? That, well, yeah, but we're trying, yes, I know. And there's some amazing Baptists. But writ large, the Southern Baptist Convention has a problematic history for anyone who isn't white, straight, and male. And that is the truth.
And that pushback is what always happens when somebody progressive is trying to move in. And we talk about it at this table often, that it's always a power move. It is the ability to grab onto something and say, oh, no, you can't do that. So whenever somebody moves forward in most churches, there's always something there that wants to pull people back down. So it's both and. It's just something that we have to be aware of, and we have to continue to push for the progressive movement within any organization, I think.
And some of the big powerhouses of social justice have been Baptist, not Southern Baptist necessarily, but the National Baptist, the Progressive National Baptist. There have been, Dr. King was obviously like the hero that we think comes to mind originally when you think about, and he was Baptist.
Yeah.
Now his theology was very universalist, but his affiliation and his style was very Baptist, and he's one of our heroes. So, and for every amazing person like that, that does not change the history of this. And one of the most horrible pulpits for most racist, homophobic, misogynist is a giant Baptist church in Dallas, Texas, and the current pastor and the one before him both have just been raging fundamentalist, and that's a Southern Baptist church.
Yeah.
That's why I'm very thankful for a place like Sunshine Cathedral that does exist as a powerhouse in Fort Lauderdale, in the state of Florida, that will have no problem addressing these types of issues.
Right.
Bring them on, we'll challenge it. Racism, sexism, misogyny, ageism, whatever the issue may be, this is a powerhouse place that has no shame in stepping up and stepping out to say, these are the kinds of things that aren't myth, because they're real for a lot of people.
Right.
And we're here to address them as a cathedral.
Well, that's today with the Queer God Squad. We want to thank you for joining us. We're here daily at 3 p.m. to have some fun and to discuss what our LGBTQ plus community is talking about.
Sunshine Cathedral is the world's largest progressive queer church. Progressive, queer, and God are words that naturally should go together, and we are all in this together. Remember that.
You are God's miracle, not God's mistake. Until the next time, we are the Queer God Squad.